was functioning. I was doing great on paper, but inside I was really struggling to get on top of the stress and anxiety. And so what I've done is sort of as my own research and the work that I do in coaching others is come up with a framework to help people understand there are multiple pathways into dealing with overwhelming stress and anxiety. You don't have to do all of it, but it's really about figuring out what works for you in short practices.
You can look like you have it all together while silently creating more stress than your body was ever designed to carry. For many women, caregiving, career demands, family responsibility, and health challenges become so intertwined with daily life that exhaustion feels normal, until burnout, anxiety, or illness becomes so impossible to ignore. Welcome to Energy Medicine. Today, I am joined by Dr. Melissa Lewis-Darte. She's a stress and resilience coach and the creator of Take 5 Framework. Melissa helps women build resilience through simple, science-based practical tools that fit into real life, not ideal life. Drawing from her expertise in psychology, integrative wellness, and her own personal journey through medical trauma, Melissa teaches practical tools that can help women regulate their nervous system, reclaim their well-being, and reconnect with themselves. I'm your host, Dr. Mary. I'm a chiropractor, medical intuitive, energy medicine practitioner, and my intention for this show is to bring you inspiring conversations and practical tools that support your healing and transformation so that you can align your mind, body, and spirit. That way you can create a life that is filled with greater vitality, purpose, and joy. Let's get started. So welcome to the show, Energy Medicine. I am absolutely delighted that you're sharing time with us today because your topic, what you are going to speak on today, there's not a single listener out there that can't resonate. You're going to be talking about something that you are an expert in, something that life, unfortunately, has forced you into learning, and your professional background has enhanced your skills and your coping mechanism. Melissa, you are known as a stress and a resilience expert, meaning that you provide people with practical and tangible tools that they can implement into their daily lives to overcome their sense of overwhelm, their burnout, their anxiety, and whatever challenges they may be dealing with on a day in and day out basis. So thank you for sharing your wisdom today. Would you please start off and just give us a little bit about how you, as a stress and resilience expert, put your work all together? How did you blend it and curate it to some of the offerings that you have available today?
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing me on and that kind introduction. I essentially got into this line of work because I needed it myself. I found myself overwhelmed after caregiving, particularly to a sick child. And I had been very driven and a perfectionist and had really exhausted myself. And my chronic stress was starting to show up physically for me with a POTS diagnosis, with vestibular migraines. And I had multiple doctors say, you need to control your stress. But I didn't know how. I agreed with them, but I didn't know how. And that's when I threw myself into figuring out how to strengthen that mind-body connection, because that's really what was happening for me. The stress that was happening up here was showing up physically in my body. And I threw myself into research. I had a psychology background, so I had that working for me, but I had to figure out how to start to make changes. And they had to be reasonable. I had 3 little children at home. I didn't have time to go off to a meditation retreat for, 2 weeks. And that's when I started really researching integrative medicine and threw myself into that certification process. And now what I do is I help other people who are feeling like I did at that time. I was functioning, I was doing great on paper, but inside I was really struggling to get on top of the stress and anxiety. And so what I've done is sort of as my own research and the work that I do in coaching others is come up with a framework to help people understand there are multiple pathways into dealing with overwhelming stress and anxiety. You don't have to do all of it, but it's really about figuring out what works for you in short practices, because it has to be something that those who are already overwhelmed feel like they have the ability to do.
That's such a key point, isn't it? Because when we are in a hyper aroused state or we're in a dysregulated state with our central nervous system, and we've been dealing with this stress long term, I'm not talking about short term stuff, I'm talking about stuff that you live with for years. And maybe it has kind of like this insidious and gradual onset, but there comes a time in that essence in which the overwhelming, it's like you get frozen. And it's like, you know that you have some tools and resources, but honest to goodness, I've been there. When I was there, I couldn't think clearly to save my life. And so that big word that you used a minute ago, change, oh no, that wasn't happening when I was frozen. So I know that you are known for practical, tangible, easy to implement strategies. So talk us through, what does that look like as you apply it? Because let's face it, stress continues to happen. Life still happens. And so when you're holding space for somebody else, how do you find that place of compassion?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, a good question, because we have to start small. So a lot of the people who are high functioning, who come to me, the idea of doing one small thing for 5 minutes doesn't feel like enough. And so we have to start there with that expectation and make sure that people understand that there is a lot that you can accomplish in 5 minutes. And so everything that I teach my clients is evidence-based. So I know that it works. It's just taking the time and allowing yourself that 5 minute space. So to give you a few examples, I like to, like I said before, it's a five part framework that I use. So the first is physical. It's really thinking about what are the physical sensations in the body that we're sending up to our brain that it is then interpreting as our emotions or our stress levels. And so many people might think, oh, I have to meditate if I'm going to calm my nervous system. But those who are really overstimulated will often come to me and say, I couldn't possibly sit down for 20 minutes, or like, I can't sit still for that long. I just can't do it. And what I say to them is the good news is, well, we can just talk about your breathing pattern and how we can change the breathing pattern for 2 to 5 minutes. And that really does change the signal going to the brain. So we might work on taking an extended exhale, which we know it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, that thing that causes us to rest and digest. By making some simple tweaks like that, we can change the physical signs. So that's one avenue in. Another one I talk to them is more the cognitive approach, right? Because so much of our stress happens from up here. And so we talk about what are some simple things that we can do, maybe to increase self-compassion, like you were just talking about. The good news there is that that's a skill, which means we can develop it. One of the ways that I encourage people to do that is simply talk to themselves out loud using their name. Talking in the third person, we tend to give much better advice to others than we give to ourselves. So that's one technique. You can do that for just 5 minutes and actually have an impact. So that's more cognitive. There's emotional. So talking about how we react to our emotions and wanting to be more purposeful rather than reactive. And then the other two are purposeful. So thinking about the things that bring us connections, joy, sense of meaning. And then the final one is organizational. So really thinking about how we prioritize and organize our time and change our habits. So there's 5 different avenues in. You don't have to do all of them, but it's really about choosing one way in which you can have a change in your life, create an impact, and starting there.
So okay, let's back up a moment. So we're talking about people, women specifically, who are overachievers, sometimes identify as being perfectionistic, and they're highly functional. So these are the women in their family who are so externally driven that they see everything that needs to be done on the home front, everything that needs to be supported in the career front, and everything that needs to be managed as far as healthcare. everything that needs to be orchestrated. I mean, we multitask to an nth degree. So we're not coming from a broken place. That's not where we are. However, when it comes to self-compassion for ourselves, some of these Kaizen principles, that Japanese word that just means small steps. If you take small steps in the right direction, you know, your breath counting and shifting the idea that it has to look like meditation, you can shift it into breathing. That gives a little bit more spaciousness for the woman receiving the advice to say, oh, I'm not really, that my strength necessarily isn't in meditation, but I certainly can breathe. I can certainly breathe, possibly when I go to the bathroom, when I'm taking my makeup off, or when I'm putting my makeup on, or when, you know, that self-talk, it can be in the mirror in the morning. You know, those are some easy to implement. You don't have to go any place special. You don't have to buy any special equipment or special clothes to do it. You just have to do it and commit to yourself.
Yes, and I think that that's a really good point for your listeners to take home, is the knowledge that these are things that can work into the margins of your life. Because you're right, those who are highly functioning are carrying an incredible load. I call it the emotional load when I'm at home, trying to explain to my husband like where my brain is at, you know? And it's all these other places, all of these balls in the air that I'm trying to keep going in order for, you know, things to be running smoothly in my life. And so I have to look for these opportunities where I can practice. And it's really identifying that as your cue. You know, when will you think to breathe? Because a lot of times I don't want my clients to come back to me and be like, yes, I really want to practice breathing, but I forget each time. It's like, okay, well, where's your cue? Is it when you're filling your coffee cup? Is it as you're getting into the shower? I had one guy that I was working with. That was his cue. That was when he breathed. And he's still doing it to this day. We worked together several years ago. So it's finding these margins of life where you can work these in. That's what's key for creating behavior change. And my highly functioning, maybe perfectionistic clients might think that's not enough, but once they actually start practicing, they realize it does make a difference. And as you get better at that, you start planting the seed. And you start recognizing the other margins you have in life and where you might be able to practice more than just that one cue that we've identified in our, initial meeting, but there can be many ways in which you practice. And as you build that habit, you get much better at doing it more frequently. And so people are often surprised to realize the opportunities that they have, because it feels like way too much to take on one more thing. And behavior change, in order for it to be sustainable, it can't feel that overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. That's such a crucial point. You know, I'm reflecting on my own practice, obviously being a chiropractor now for 35 years. It never ceases to amaze me when people are like, what should I be doing? What should I be doing? And I say, well, let's just keep it simple. How about you drink half of your body weight in ounces of water a day? And that small suggestion was overwhelming for a lot of people. And I said, well, if you're not drinking any water right now, why don't you try doing 64 ounces tomorrow? You know, let's start somewhere. But what ended up happening, and it was beautiful to witness, Melissa, was that there was a sense of empowerment. Like once the person not conquered it, but they got a hang of it, like it became part of their routine, you could almost see them kind of fluff up, like, yeah, I did that. Now what's next? Now what's next? And so
yes.
it's a beautiful organic process to witness. I think you would agree on that.
For sure. I love to see people come back to me and say, like, I'm doing it, I'm crushing this, and now I'm ready for more. And I talk to them often about sort of establishing a core. And, as they often will say, well, this doesn't feel like enough, a 5-minute breathing. Say, well, let's establish this core. And if you do more than that, great. But let's start there. Meet yourself where you are, which is what you were saying with the water. Once we have this, we can work to expand the circle. That's how real behavior change happens. It doesn't happen with these big broad stroke changes. It happens with baby steps. It doesn't feel good at the time because you want to have these giant leaps, but the baby steps are key. And I do think it's helpful if they're working with someone like you, or they see you on a regular basis, or a coach, who can help them realize where they started and where they're at now. Because it's oftentimes easy in the moment to lose sight of how far you've come. And so it's helpful to have some type of tracking or some type of accountability or a partner coaching, something that helps you remember that from the day to day when those little, changes don't feel like a big thing. It's looking back and realizing, oh, that was huge.
Mm-hmm. If today's conversation with Melissa has you realizing how much stress you've been carrying, then I'd like to offer you a free resource that's available to you to help you reconnect with yourself and create more calm in your life. Download my ultimate meditation guide to unleashing the authentic self at my website at drmarysanders.com. Inside, you'll receive 3 guided meditations designed specifically to support you in your healing and self-discovery. The first is the Earth Sync meditation. It just guides you to reconnect with the grounding and nurturing frequency of Mother Earth. The second is designed detached alignment. It's a meditation to help you identify clarity as to what's yours and what's other people's. The last meditation is called Timeless Presence, which basically brings your awareness into present time consciousness so that you can fully embrace the power of the present moment. Visit www.drmarysanders and download your free guide today, or just simply wait until the end of the episode and we will share a QR code for easy access to the meditation. I'd like to shift the conversation a little bit and talk about how do we identify when we're at our threshold of stress? Meaning that it just doesn't happen overnight. I mean, like I said, it's an insidious, gradual onset. And then finally you're at your threshold where you just can't take any more. And I remember some of the physical things that I felt when I went through my extreme burnout. But I'd like to hear from you, being the expert, what kind of signs, symptoms, signals do people experience on the physical level indicating that red light, enough is enough is enough is enough, I've got to make some changes?
Yeah. And I usually when I'm talking to people, I refer to this as the red flags. What are the red flags for you? And each person is different, but you're right in that so much of our mental health shows up as a physical flag or a physical symptom. So I asked people to tell me in our first meeting, where do they notice the stress in their body? And sometimes they don't know it's called stress. They don't use that term, but I might say, okay, where's the tension in your body? Where's the discomfort in your body? And we start talking there. Sometimes people have ignored things for so long, we start talking, okay, let's back it up and just be hypothetical. If it were to show up in your body, where do you think it would show up? If it were a color, what color would it be? Or what texture would it be? And that helps people just practice feeling their bodies, which they might have been ignoring for a really long time. But oftentimes the stress is showing up, whether it's, tight shoulders, migraines or headaches, stomach aches, pressure behind the eyes. Those are more physical. Sometimes it's more behavioral, so it starts to impact their sleep. Or maybe they're starting to get some blood sugar readings from the doctor that aren't, where they used to be. Maybe their blood pressure is increasing. So there's all different ways in which it shows up. And you're right, it's insidious. It doesn't happen overnight. It's these little things that happen over time. And can really have a big impact. So we have to just start paying attention, even if it's recording, sort of writing down, where might it be, sort of being curious, and rather than feeling like I should know for sure. Once people start leaning into the idea, it sort of opens up this whole world when they can pay attention to their body. What are those signals? What's happening? That sometimes takes practice for people who have ignored it for a long time.
Well, at risk of sharing too much, I remember when I was going through my extreme burnout phase, and it kind of looked very cyclical on a day-to-day basis, meaning that I felt like I was intravenously injecting caffeine to get up and go in the morning. Like it was a false start. But I would force myself into that caffeinated high, and then I would force myself into doing my exercise. And I love to exercise, and I'm always have been a morning exercise person. And I started gradually realizing that I felt more depleted after exercising. And then I would go through my busy morning, and then I would possibly have some chocolate after my lunch. And if I was lucky, I could get like maybe a 10 or a 15-minute nap in order to make it through the afternoon. And then I would work until the sun went down, and then I'd go home and I would have wine to sleep. And then I would fall asleep hard, and then I would wake up with the sugar burn off at about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And then my racing mind took over at that hour, and I would never complete my full sleep cycle. And so that was my life for many years. And then slowly but surely, it just went downhill from there. But I just honestly, Melissa, I thought it was kind of normal. I just thought that cycle was what women went through, and that, that was that's what I had to do in order to run 2 successful practices, multiple doctors, big staff. And finally, I would get home in the evenings to have dinner with my husband, and I could literally not even hold my head up or finish a conversation. And so that's when he was like, look, I'm out, like, stop. You got to look at your patterns, because if you're not seeing them, I am. And I'm here to tell you that if you continue down this pathway, it's not going to be pretty. And so that's when I was like, oh, wow, okay, so what I'm doing is not normal. And then that's when I went and sought out assistance and guidance from the graduate of the Andrew Weil program.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I do think that many people are in the same boat, where you are waking up exhausted, depleted, feeling like that all day. And then you're wired and tired when it comes to bed and not able to sleep. And then repeating the cycle, thinking, well, isn't everyone feeling this way? And so what I like to talk to people about is your bandwidth, and thinking about, where you're at. What sort of bandwidth would you say you have to tackle your day? What sort of energy level do you have? And what does it mean to be well? Because so much of our conversation in Western medicine focuses on absence of disease, but that doesn't mean you feel well. And there's a big difference for people. So maybe you are really functioning, like in terms of our culture, you were crushing it, right? You're running multiple practices, you're working out every day, you're doing all the things, checking all the boxes, but at the same time, you don't feel good. And I, like to use the term functioning, not flourishing. So you were functioning, but you didn't feel like you were really flourishing in life. And when people start to notice that, I think that's a huge red flag to something has to change. I am not taking care of myself. And it might be that you're exercising and you're eating well, like you were doing, but it doesn't mean that we're caring for ourselves on all the levels. And that's why I encourage people to think about wellness, not just as absence of disease, but what are the things that make you feel fulfilled and calm and present, because that's part of being well too.
Mm-hmm. I do remember this conversation with my practitioner. His name was Dr. William. And he's like, well, what fills your cup outside of work? And I was like, what? You mean there's something outside of work? And he's like, yeah, there's a heck of a lot more. And if you can't identify it, then that's a potential problem. And he was like, you gotta rest. You gotta like slow down. And I'm like, I don't have the luxury of slowing down, dude. You know what you're recommending to me is just outside of my scope of how I live my life. But he was right. He was absolutely right. And it got to it got to the point where I couldn't do anything. I'm not kidding. Anything beyond my day-to-day responsibilities at work. And that was it. No exercise for a year. I couldn't even walk a mile. It was pathetic.
And I do think our body does this to us. We can ignore the signals for a really long time. Our body is good at adapting and getting into that stress response. The challenge is when we don't find ways to refill that cup, like your doctor was mentioning. And if we don't rest, our body will make us rest. That's the part about it. That's what happened to me. I had multiple diagnoses, and I remember thinking, like, I'm a otherwise healthy person. Why is this happening? And it wasn't because any one thing in my body was broken, is I was not caring for all those other aspects of what would make me well, particularly that rest. And a lot of high functioning women will relate to your story. I relate to that wholeheartedly. And there have to be ways that we can find and build in rest. It doesn't mean that you have to have 30 minutes to nap or, an hour to go to bed earlier, but there are other ways that you can stop for a minute, reorient, reset, give yourself a break that can help you to feel more energized by the end of the day. That's what you really want. You want to be able to show up for your life, not just at work.
Mm-hmm. Your body is so amazingly intelligent. Like what you said, if you ignore the signs and the symptoms so far, it's like it will adapt. It will adapt. And then at one point, it's going to say, lady, you are not listening to me, and I am going to force you to listen to me. I am going to shut down your life as you know it. You're going to be unable to exist in normal functioning society. Time out. And so the body does that. And whether if you choose to recognize the signs and the symptoms, hurrah, hooray, that's wonderful for you. But if you're going to continue to ignore it, I'm telling you, the universe will create a catastrophic event to where it's going to force you to stop.
Yes, I've heard that time and time again from the people I work with that for a very long time, they ignored it. They just thought that's how they had to operate. And it wasn't until something big happened. My goal, hopefully, in coming on talking to you and in the work that you're doing as well, is to encourage people to not wait that long and to not feel so overwhelmed, knowing that there are little things you can do. It's not all the big things. It's these little moments that can really add up and help you to prevent something like that from happening. I hope that you used the word before, empowered. Mm-hmm. And that's really important. People can be empowered to know that a lot of this is within their own hands. There is a lot that they can control. They can't control all the stressors coming at them, but they can control a few strategic moments throughout the day to really help them to protect that bandwidth, like you mentioned.
Yeah. And so, Melissa, for the listeners that are resonating with what you're saying, like, okay, I'm not alone. There's somebody here that can help. How do they find out more about your Take 5 framework and about your offerings and your services?
Yeah, you can visit my website, www.workingoncalm.com. On there are all kinds of articles I publish with these resources for free for people. There's information on working with me. I do one-on-one coaching to help people who, they know what they should be doing, but are having a hard time actually implementing. That's where coaching can be really helpful. So I work one-on-one with people, and I also do more organizational virtual workshops or in-person trainings to help at the organizational level, if this would be helpful for you to have at work. So check out the website, all kinds of ways to contact me there.
Well, I can personally say I wish I would have known you way back then. It could have saved me, and one thing about this is as we share our stories, we're paying it forward, meaning listeners, you don't have to go through the same heartache and headache that both Melissa and I have experienced. Take our knowledge, our wisdom, and the life experiences in a way that prevents you from having to go through all those challenges on your own. So, Melissa, I just want to express gratitude. That's one of those emotional things that, the more I feel into the service that you're offering, the more appreciation that I have for you as a unique individual. So thank you for showing up that way and sharing your personal story and all that. To our listeners, thank you for spending this time with us. I mean, if today's conversation resonated with you, remember that resilience is not built in just one grand gesture. You've heard both Melissa and myself say just those small, consistent, committed steps that you make on a daily basis. That is what adds up. So small choices repeated consistently that honor your overall well-being. So you deserve the same great care, the compassion, and the intention that you give so freely to other people. So take care of yourself first is what I'm trying to say. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who may need to hear this message today. So, listeners, until next time, remember that healing begins when we align the mind, body, and spirit. Please continue to take good care of yourself.